Right, welcome to episode 72?
72!
I don't know, 71 or 72 of the DrawDrinkn podcast.
Nice.
With Gary Duffner, myself, and tonight's special guest, Scott Cherry.
That's
Hey,
him
guys.
right there. Thank you, Scott.
Hey, Scott,
Hi.
welcome. Thank you for
Woo.
joining us tonight.
Yes, my pleasure.
I like I noticed the spiked cuff.
Oh,
you
yes.
Expecting trouble?
Ooh.
Yeah.
I totally get it.
No, I've always worn I don't know. I like.
Always think.
You
Oh,
know
I
what
want
it was. It was an old comic book ad that when I was a kid it said Hercules wristband.
Oh, yeah.
You remember
get
that?
it.
It was
I
like
had those.
Yeah.
I got
And that's
them.
it?
They were leather bands and they had two straps and buckles.
That's it right there.
had
That's
those.
not this one, but I've had those before, and I don't know.
It's nostalgic.
That was the the Johnson Toy Company? I think there was a Johnson America, I think was the name of that, and they were the back of the comic book, and they had those ads with 40 different little products in there.
Yeah.
And then you ordered something from them, and then they would send you a catalog. It was a black and white, just newsprint type catalog, and it was chock full of all the things you'd ever want as an 8-year-old kid.
Yeah, there was a guy. He just wrote a book because he'd sent away for literally everything in the back of a comic book, and he wrote a book and showed what the ad was in the comic book, and then what he actually got. So yeah, he got all that stuff. Yeah.
That's a totally legit coffee table book.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's an amazing book.
It's like a coffee table book, perfectly made for late, boomers and the Gen X generation.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How many of us got duped by sea monkeys?
Yeah.
Oh, I did.
I just watched a documentary. It's like a 20-minute documentary on sea monkeys.
Yeah.
It gets really dark there at the end, because it's the guy he got the patent for sea monkeys, and he invented the X-ray specs. It was the same guy, and
That's
and
great.
then he invented this spring-loaded baton, this weapon, and then it's revealed that he became this high-ranking member of the Ku Klux Klan.
Oh no!
It's a neo-Nazi, dude, and he filtered all of this sea monkeys money into this neo-Nazi organization. It's crazy.
Oh man, I feel horrible now.
And at first I was I want to see, what's the history of the sea monkeys?
Yeah.
And then it's this guy in a black executioner's hood, and I'm oh, is it really? How does the guy that makes this whimsical
Crushed.
Yeah.
Well, that really does lend a lot of explanation to the spring-loaded baton.
Yeah. And yeah. See, that's what it was. It got darker and darker, where it was
Yeah.
kids, if you love X-ray specs and sea monkeys, you're gonna love this concealed weapon.
Hey, sis.
Now that you're armed and
Here's a
get
pamphlet.
ready for war.
Right, it comes with a pamphlet. That's the
Yeah.
The pamphlet. Oh my God.
hey.
So what
Happy Tuesday, Sean.
Hey,
McCarthy.
Sean McCarthy is here. We have to find out what Scott's doing.
Yes, Scott.
What's his main thing he's doing right now?
Oh, okay. What are you up to, Scott? Aside from podcasting.
I just put out my first comic book called Barbarian Rage. This is it right here.
Oh, look at that. There's the actual hard copy.
That's the hard copy.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
And this is It's sort of like, I don't know if you guys or if any of the listeners or watchers ever
2 hard copies.
If you ever read Twisted Toy Fair Theater, there was an old magazine called Toy Fair, and they put out a comic book where they took pictures of toys and everything. It eventually became Robot Chicken, but it was like the Avengers. They would do like the Avengers. Like it was like the Migos, like the old Migos.
Yeah.
They would pose those and do it. So anyway, that's sort of what this is. Instead of like traditional artwork, it's pictures of toys that I've sculpted. It's sort of like a stop motion, almost.
But all stop.
Yeah.
You just stopped at stop and then kept going.
Yeah. So
it's I mean it's really, really clever. Like it's super clever. Yeah, I was quite blown away by it. Oh, Gary's got it up there. We're gonna embiggen Gary's screen.
Embiggen my screen so we can see a page.
Yeah. It's very clever. We have a million questions. So
it's great. I love it.
So okay, so I guess is toys are the beginning story here, right? Like
sure. Yeah, I mean
for this story.
It is. I mean,
or for your story.
I've been doing artwork, basically my whole life, but no one actually gave a shit until I made a toy.
Okay.
And I even I quit my job to make toys. That was a foolish move, but it worked out. I started making comics. I made a toy, and I was like, well, maybe I can as soon as I made it, I was like, I want to give it a voice. And I started doing these little 4-page or 4-panel comics, like a dick joke or a fart joke or whatever. And I was like, if I could fully articulate it almost like a stop motion, I was like, I want to make a full series, a full, so that was the first challenge, and COVID hit, and I was like, so I built a set and props and all that stuff, and I just went to town.
So okay, so let's try to the comic book came together whilst we were all locked up in our various respective dwellings. But when did the toy making, you said you quit your job? When did you quit your job?
That was about 5 years ago.
Okay. So it's relatively recent, in recent memory, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And then what were you doing before that? You said, sayonara, I've got to work with Smooth on for the rest of my life.
I was doing custom paint jobs on fishing reels.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's specific as I've ever heard.
It is.
You should talk to Brendan Wagner because he loves fishing.
Isn't he? Yeah.
You know who Brendan Wagner is?
Fly rod reels or just spinning rods?
Yeah, fly rod reels. Yep.
I guess the nice circumference has got a nice canvas.
Yep. And I would sit there and I painted those 10 hours a day.
No way. For a manufacturer or for on your own?
No, it was for a manufacturer.
Okay.
They made it and they manufactured them here in California. And,
Abel Sims, who are we talking about here?
It was Abel reels.
Yeah, I'm sure. I have a couple Abel reels, so yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
Nice, awesome. I have a pair of Abel pliers within arm's reach of me right now.
Yeah, if they have a paint job on them, I probably.
That's unbelievable. Okay, that's awesome. Okay, so all right, you mentioned Mego toys. So that's like is like near and dear to a generation's heart of, you know, people who didn't play football. So what? So were you like? So were you like into me, dude? That's the greatest poster in the history of posters. By
This
the way.
is the poster, man. That is the poster.
That's the poster that launched
so many boys'
libido.
happiness.
Libido.
The stuff that I put in the comic has to be almost ubiquitous.
Yeah.
And so like that's like their shitty apartment with the with that poster with the
I love the
mustache
bricks
and beard.
It's yeah. So okay, so where'd you grow up?
On the border of Illinois, Wisconsin.
Oh, okay. So kind of somewhere around Cheap Trick territory.
Cheap Trick.
Yeah, that's Rockford.
Yeah. Like were you near the Dells?
No, that's a little bit further north.
Okay.
I was right in between Chicago and Milwaukee.
Okay.
Like Kenosha area.
Nice.
You know.
And were toys a big part of your childhood? Like,
I mean, of course.
Yeah.
I have yet to come across anyone that's like, I hated toys when I was a kid.
I remember people like toys were a big thing, and then there was just this period in time, and I think it was like late elementary school that it was like all my friends just kind of stopped playing with toys. Like it all became about sports.
Yeah. There is that period there that I remember going through where I said, you know, I'm too old for this stuff, but I could never stop playing with toys. Like when I was in 8th grade, you know, I remember going, I'm too old for this stuff, but I'm still making like puppets, and I started listening to Guar.
Yeah.
Oh. And I remember that I was like, this changed my life.
That's amazing.
I remember I like never even hearing it, but just like looking at the artwork on it, and I was like, I don't even care if the music sucks.
Right.
I'm like, this is what I want to do with my life.
Right.
And then Guar took over everything in my life, and they were doing a worthless slave contest. I bought a bunch of knockoff GI Joes, and I did a custom toy of every member in Guar.
Oh, cool.
And sent it in, and I won 2nd place. I didn't get the actual worthless slave award, but they did send a worthless slave award and like a bunch of like Guar stuff to my house and everything.
That's awesome.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so
they're great. Totally cool.
I'm an award-winning toy artist since 8th grade.
Nice.
That's true. That's great.
That's quite the CV builder right off the bat.
Yeah.
So you're growing up in the Wisconsin, Illinois area, and were you reading comic books, or was it mostly just?
Yeah, always comic books.
Yeah,
that was during, you know, I want to say, you know, it was like right before the bubble burst, and I want to say it's the dark ages of comic books, of, you know, holographic covers and and all that stuff. But you know, my comic book guy, who I loved him. You know, there was the Spider-Man. There was this month where Spider-Man came out with 4 different issues, and each one had a different hologram on it, you know. And I had this mindset, you know, I think every kid did at the time, where you go, oh, I'm going to buy this. These are going to be worth money.
Yep.
Right.
You know, and we all know how that
You mean they weren't?
No. And so, you know, I bought that and he goes, you like that comic book? And I go, well, yeah, but it's going to be worth money. And he looked at me, he goes, why don't you go home and read that book? And why don't you come back and tell me what you think of it?
Right.
And
Interesting.
I went and I read it, and I thought, what a hunk of shit.
Uh-huh.
I said, I couldn't, I really couldn't believe also how bad the artwork was on the inside. And, they had only sold it because there was a hologram on the cover. And I remember I went to him and I said, yeah, you're right. This was a shitty comic book. I'm like, what do I read? I didn't even know what to read. And he gave me a couple suggestions. And then he like dusted off something that he knew it wasn't selling, but he sold it to me anyway. Yeah, so that guy got me actually reading the comic books and not just, buying it for, because it's the #1 issue with a holographic cover.
Sure.
And
right.
So yeah, always reading comic books. I used to work at a comic book shop in my 20s.
Oh, okay, cool.
And that's one thing that I never stopped. Even when I felt like I was too old for toys, I never felt that way about comic books. Comic books, always part of my life.
Yeah. So, I'm guessing that you're no longer in the borderlands of Wisconsin and Illinois.
No.
Where are you now?
Yeah, I moved to California.
Oh, okay.
I'm in LA County. I'm by the airport, by LAX. Yes.
And so when did you move there? Like, what was the change?
Well, when I was living in Illinois, and I met a girl out there that was from California. And we started dating, and after a couple of years she was like, look, I cannot handle these winters anymore, and I'm moving back to California. So
you're like,
I was like,
sign me up.
Yeah I always wanted to live out here, and
right.
So yeah, it was perfect.
Awesome.
So, but I mean, clearly the arts was a part of your life.
Yeah.
In creation. So did you study art? Are you completely self-trained, or?
Yeah, when I was I always wanted to be an artist. And when I was in high school, my senior year, I took whatever the final course is, independent study, where you can sort of just do whatever you want.
Okay.
And I had the same teacher all through high school, and I remember going, I've had her for 4 years now. This is a breeze. And my final, she sat down and looked at what I'd been working on. She goes, maybe you do something different with your life.
Ooh, okay.
And I was like, it was a tough pill to swallow.
Reality check.
But I was like, I think she's right. I stink. I looked at my stuff and it wasn't very good. And I had befriended this kid. He was a freshman, and we're still friends today. And the guy he could make a masterpiece with a broken pencil.
Okay.
Like I watched him pull a broken marker out of the garbage one time, and like did this painting with it. And I was like, I gotta hang out with this guy. And after that, I started taking artwork very seriously, and I started drawing and doing art every day for hours and hours and hours. And I went to community college, and the curriculum there sucked, and I started getting into drugs. And I took acid one night, and I was like, man, I don't need college to be an artist, man. I am an artist. And,
Nice.
And then I dropped out, and I have an identical twin brother, and we said, let's make a stop motion cartoon. And we thought that we were gonna put this stop motion cartoon together. And I'm sorry, I'm rambling on.
No, you're telling a story.
That's what we want to hear.
So
Yeah.
we started putting this cartoon together, and we took years of building sets and props and all of these stop motion puppets. And this is like early 2000s, so there was no even real resources that you could read. There was one book that Aardman had put out, the Wallace and Gromit guys.
Yep.
And then besides that was it. There was like a documentary on the Nightmare Before Christmas DVD.
What's that guy's name? Who the animator in that one?
Nightmare.
Yeah.
That's I just watched the movies that made us.
Because Elfman was not Elfman, but Tim Burton was the producer. But there's that. Yeah. I love his stuff. He's great.
Henry Selick.
Yes, Henry Selick, exactly. Tom Selleck's less attractive brother.
Yeah. So there wasn't a whole lot, and so we just sort of made it up as we went along, and we spent years making it, and we went out and bought like a $1,200 camera, and we never even animated 1 second of animation after putting years and years and I mean a couple $1,000 and all that time and money and everything. It just never happened.
Right.
So after that, we sort of went our separate ways. He actually published his own comic books at the time. And I started doing paintings and stuff like that. So,
well, okay. So, but you've tipped into an interesting area. So you guys put a lot of time, effort, and resources into this project that you did together, which I'm sure that it's not unique for identical twins to sort of have these sort of really tight sort of events throughout their lives. But what if you didn't film anything? You didn't produce anything from this. So what happened inside you? Like, did you just toss it off? Did you did you beat yourself up? Did you what was the response internally from that?
It was really hard, because we had moved into this place in Kenosha, Wisconsin, specifically to shoot this, and everything there had just sort of crumbled. These gang members moved upstairs.
Oh wow!
And we had a party one night, and everyone got loaded, and it ended up being like a huge fight. And I mean, there was like a gang fight out in front of the house that involved everyone. And the landlord came out over the next day and was like, "You're all evicted."
Wow.
And so we had to move this giant set and all these puppets back to my parents' house. And my twin brother, he was like, he moved out to California before I did. So at the end there, he was like, "I'm moving, dude." And I was like, what am I going to do with this thing? And I sort of panicked, and I was like, maybe we can make like a 3-minute animation, because it was originally going to be like this 15-minute thing or a 20-minute.
You're negotiating now. The negotiation phase hits.
Yep. And finally my mom just said, "You know what? I need you to get rid of this thing." And I got rid of it. So, so now with this new project, the Barbarian Rage comic book, I feel like this is everything that was that cartoon. It was called The Waterhole.
Okay.
It was a bar. And I was like, this is the redemption for not making that.
Good.
Because this involves all the stop motion puppets and sets and props and all that stuff. So it was basically everything that I learned from doing that, only on a smaller scale. And the one thing that I learned from the water hole is it was an unreasonable goal. And the lesson learned is make reasonable, attainable goals. And so that was just that it was too far out.
So in that but in that process of that time, you taught yourself how to sculpt and cast and build sets and all these elements, and probably write a script and storyboard and come up with like how you're going to construct something, even though it might have been bigger than what you could have chewed off. You assembled a series of a series of skills that, while they didn't pay off at that time, you turned around when the times you came and you were like, hey, I'm going to make another thing. They were already in your toolbox.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool. No, all right. So that's cool. So what was the sort of, so now you're locked up. The world won't let you go outside and play. You can't go see shows or whatever whatever the thing you like to do. And you're here, you are in 2020, and what kicks off the Barbarian Rage idea?
Well, I've been working on it for years, but I had sort of set everything up, and I was just about to start on it anyway. And I was supposed to do one last show, and it got canceled due to COVID. And I'm like, I don't know how many more signs I need to stop everything that I'm doing to just do this comic book, you know? And it just made it easier. So I had been working on it for a while. And, the thing behind it was, I've always wanted to make the toys. I've been wanting to make toys for a long time, but it just never clicked, and it was very difficult. But then there was just this thing where I was like, I have to make one toy,
right?
And I couldn't make a mold to save my life. And I was like, let me just make the easiest thing possible. And if I can't do that, then I'll throw it away forever. And it actually turned out. So I was like, let's take it up from here. Right. So then it became like bootleg toys, Darth Vader and a bunch of
Shitty Vader
stuff. And what's that?
Shitty Vader.
Yeah, Shitty Vader. That was my first toy.
Okay.
That was it. Yep.
Yeah.
Because that was like an old Play-Doh, like a 2-part mold where you put a piece of Play-Doh on it.
Yep.
And you close.
Yep.
I think I have a mold up here somewhere.
Clamshell.
Yeah. And
the face is all mangled on the logo.
yeah. That was before that movie even came out.
Right.
Okay, like, what is this? So wow. That was my first toy.
That's awesome.
I'm not proud of it, but it was the first one.
I'd be proud of it.
When was that?
That was about 5 years ago.
Okay. All right. So that was 5 years ago. Were you selling those online, or were you going to shows? Like, where was the?
Yeah, I went to Designer Con. I just gave those out to a bunch of people. I sold a couple of them, but
probably worth a mint now.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think I sold them for $5. You could probably. It's not even worth the shipping now. I mean, I don't know.
Well, I bet you they're worth a mint now. Trust me.
You gotta go through Amazon, man. You gotta sell them that way.
Yeah.
Send them a bunch of them.
So you made it. It worked. You weren't completely. Like, okay, that came together. So did you start saying, okay, I'm going to start designing and making more toys?
Well, a lot of bootleggers, they don't sculpt or even draw, So when I first started, I was like, I can do both. And I would do my own artwork for the card, and and I sculpted like original stuff. So the whole idea behind doing the bootleg toys is just like figuring out how to make toys,
Right.
and then for me, phase 2 was create my own toy line and make that, and create my own intellectual property, which is Barbarian Rage.
Yep.
So I wanted to create a comic book with a full story, and then base the toys on the book, because there are people that make toys and it's like, it'll be some skeleton toy or something,
Yep.
and this is skull
Like that.
skull fucker, and you go,
Right.
okay, what's that? And you go, well, it's my toy. Well, what is it? And to me, a toy, it's got to have like a background, and it's got to like exist in a universe
Yes.
somehow, and so that's what this is. And so it starts off with the 2 characters, and I want to sort of expand it by 1 character, and sort of do the He-Man thing, where it's like, this character and this character and this character,
Right.
and just build it until it's like a whole universe of characters.
Well, I get a strong impression, reading the comic book of this, but they are thoroughly fully formed characters. Like
Yes.
they are themselves, and they have a history independently and together. And so right off the bat, there's a lot going for it in that respect. I'm like, like they have their own language, their own inside jokes.
Yeah.
So if your other characters come in with that level of richness, you're going to have what you want.
Yeah. I hope so. Because we were talking about Dungeons and Dragons a little bit earlier before the show started, and I feel like that's like such a huge part where it's like, you walk into a room and there's a door here, and then there's a treasure chest here, and it's like, okay, why would someone put a door there?
Yeah.
And why would someone put that treasure chest there?
Just sitting right there.
And like, to me, that's why being a dungeon master was always so hard, because I'm always like, okay, well, this door, it has to have this immaculate backstory. Like what, who was the architect who created this door and put it here? And it drive me crazy. So, same thing with this. Like, even if I don't spell it out, I wrote character sheets for all of these characters.
Oh, no way. Awesome.
And maps and, all this stuff that doesn't even really make it. But, I feel like the more of the universe that you've fleshed out, the more genuine it is.
Well, it makes it a lot easier for the characters and you to navigate the world, because you're not sort of vamping your way through the world. You sort of it's a difference between waking up with amnesia in a country that you've never been in versus waking up where you live and just going through your life. You can make choices versus, I guess we'll go over here. Let's go over here.
Yeah.
And so I think that's interesting, and it's so funny when you talk about the door or the treasure chest, and while treasure chests and treasure feature prominently in your comic book, it's and like your solutions and your like, oh, it's not. I don't want to blow it, but it's
yeah. Well, that was another thing with this is, I wanted to sort of recreate the fun of sitting around the table and playing Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
And like, if you did just happen upon all of this gold, you know,
Right.
if you're playing D&D, you go, well, let's just take it. And you go, whoa.
Yeah.
Is it haunted? Is the treasure haunted? You know, like, you can't just go in and pilfer. And also, you know, if you're playing it right, in my opinion, your teammates or you know, whoever you're playing with, the other players won't allow you to just go in and take it.
Right.
You know, you have to perform spells on it. Is it haunted?
Well,
You know,
yeah.
Is it cursed, or you know, is someone going to come looking for it? Is someone going to come looking for us if we take it? And
I appreciated so many of those bits that you put into the you know, into your script, you know, in the book, because it was just sort of like, I mean, it was just spot on, you know. Oh yeah, no, that's exactly okay. That's what the magic user is going to do, or, you know, like everyone's got the little bit in their role.
Yeah. And you know, like I when I wrote this too, you know, I wanted to stray away from like He-Man is the most powerful man in the universe. And I go, give me a break.
Right.
Come on. You know, I you know, it is sort of like a Spider-Man thing, where it's like Spider-Man occasionally will get his ass handed to him.
Yeah.
You know, he does have problems, you know, so I didn't want these guys to be like unbeatable, you know, like you know, like even Conan is like this epic level barbarian, you know. Right. I wanted these guys to be like third level, you know, like they can do some stuff, but they can't do like everything, you know. Like,
I mean, the comic opens up like the worst James Bond intro ever. And I say that with all the best love and respect, if that makes sense to you.
Yes.
Like, you know, we're in the middle of an adventure, but we are at the lowest level of what an adventure could be.
Yes. And that's sort of what I wanted to be, you know, and it's like, I wanted to start it off there too, because, you know, they're also like sort of in the middle of another adventure.
Well, that's the thing. I know that this this is a sidetrack. Like, this was unexpected, unplanned.
Yeah,
we got to get out of the situation.
They're hungry.
Yeah,
well, but like there's way bigger things happening in these two characters, you know, live.
Oh yeah,
but you know, prolonged starvation, death is not exactly something they can just shrug off. Like, this is a thing. So it's really it's very clever. And it's funny you say like the D&D thing, and when I hear you talk about it, it's almost like the feeling I get is if this was a comic book made of the characters in the campaign, whatever so there are two players sitting at a table somewhere and a DM, and this is the actual like manifestation of what they're talking about. So the arguing is almost meta arguing, and to a degree, like it's got this real, I think it's this interesting point of view to it. I really dig it.
Thank you. Yeah, and that's you know, that's exactly what I was going for. Is I wanted to recreate, you know, what that is like to be sitting and playing Dungeons and Dragons, because I know, like, sometimes we play Dungeons and Dragons, and you'd be sitting in the same room for 4 hours talking about who's gonna pull the lever.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and it's like, you know, it can be tedious at times. So, you know, hopefully I did a good job punching it up. But yeah, that's what I want to do. And also, I think it's a task too. You know, it was hard for me to even go into this, because I'm like, I've seen so much fantasy that's not funny. Like, I've seen, you know, I don't want to disparage anyone else's artistic endeavors, but I you know, I've seen other fantasy stuff that's trying to be Dungeons and Dragons, and trying to be funny, and it just never did it for me. So even at the beginning of this, I was like, I'm gonna write something, and if I don't love it, I'm not gonna do it.
Right.
And when I was done with this, I was like, I got a couple of different people's opinions, and I was like, yeah, I think it's funny enough. I think I'm gonna do it.
So how did you so let's dive a little bit into how you did this. How first off, what comes down to the story, how did you put the story together? I'm not talking the artwork. Did you thumbnail this out? Did you write it out? Like, how did you start and begin the approach?
Yeah. I started with an outline of the story. At first I was like, I had this story and I was like, okay, I wanted it to be a full adventuring party, almost like the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon,
Yeah, sure.
where it was like thief, ranger, barbarian, acrobat, we're going to have all of them.
Right.
And I'm like, dude, you're going to have to make every single one of those.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. So I was like, all right, now it's only going to be 6. It's only going to be 6 characters. And I wrote a script with 6 characters. And then I'm going, I know that Kilgar, he's the main character, or one of the main characters. He was always in all of these. And I started putting him together, sculpting the armor and all that. And it was just taking so long to even do one. And I really liked the script with the 6 people.
Mm-hmm.
But then I was like, it's taking me this long to just do one. And then I go, okay, let's make a script with 2 people.
There you go.
So even that was a challenge because, writing that, I always want to go, okay, then they get robbed by a band of thieves.
Sure.
I'm like,
Right.
no, you can't do that because you got to make the thieves, man.
Right.
So it was, how can I just write this with 2 people?
It's your waiting for Godot.
Yeah. So that was it. I wrote the script and then I did the thumbnails, and the thumbnails are very rudimentary, stick figures,
Yeah.
And then I just did it, piece by piece.
So you built, so you built these. So, these are like, these are articulated puppets, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. And now, how many different faces did you make for these?
A bunch. For this one, I have like 5 different.
Let's see it. Let's see the characters.
I'll show you. I'll show a little bit. So like here, this is Kilgar.
Oh
yeah. Yep, there he is.
That's him. I'm so excited.
Gary's so excited. He's seeing a hero.
He is my
like a
hero.
celebrity.
Yeah, I'm gonna embiggen you so we can see.
Oh, you can move him.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Here, go to your right.
And
oh yeah.
So here's like
Oh yeah.
he has interchangeable hands too.
Oh great.
So you can like put like a sword hand, or here's his fist.
Yep. Yes.
But like I sculpt, having to sculpt all this armor, even like the armor has to move, and everything has to. Even like this this leg armor, even the foot moves, like all of this like war skirt has
such a great doll.
This war skirt, everything.
Action
to me, I was like, everything has to work. Everything has to buckle.
It's like a Hercules. It's like a Hercules wristband buckle.
Yeah, that's
That's
what
awesome.
I made on this right here.
So cool.
Oh, dude, it's unbelievable. We have a question here for you, Scott.
Yeah.
Sean's asking, what was the most difficult part about sculpting out your comic books?
Ooh, sculpting the comics.
It was this character
Okay.
because,
Lots of parts.
you know, for me, I was like, I don't know if people are going to be into like toy pictures, and I was like, it's got to be like the most fucking badass thing. Like, it's got to look like amazing.
It had me enthralled. I was like, I had to keep looking at it.
Thank you. Yeah. So in order for people to be like, well, you just took a bunch of pictures of a toy, you know, to me, I was like, it has to be like the coolest thing ever. So to me, this had to be like visually awesome.
Yeah.
You know, so it was this building him. So like I did Leech too, but you know, making the clothes, I made all the clothes. I even made the pants, and I made everything on this, you know.
That's unbelievable.
So great.
And I even like made this little wig.
I love the hair. It's like so bad, but it's good.
It's
just
great.
Crazy good bad. It's
well, it's interesting. The hair is so like dynamic because like in the comic book, the hair
it's
like,
part of it. It's like a character.
Yeah,
the hair is a character.
And your ability to impart movement, you know, in still images is really good. Like the combination of your physical, you know, manipulation of the figures and your camera angles, like those two things. Forget any of the after effects you're putting in there. Like they're really good.
It's actually very minimal. I am very bad with computers.
Yeah.
So
you must know Phil.
Most of so a lot of those effects are in camera.
Really?
Like,
okay, so you're doing practical work.
So like the magic and stuff that comes out of Leech's wand, it's like a glow in the dark wand. I'll give you a secret that I use. It's a glow in the dark wand, and then I blast it with a black light laser.
Okay.
And it like lights up the whole room.
That's awesome. Way.
And so there's a scene in the book where Leech hits Kilgar in the face with a magic spell.
Yeah.
And that's what that is. It's a glow in the dark wand.
No kidding.
Being hit with a black light laser. Yeah.
It looks really, there are so many good things. I mean, as Gary said earlier, I mean, it is the kind of thing that you just keep looking back and you look back at it and you look back at it. I mean, yes. I didn't just like blitz through the book. Like I kept coming back to it and like reading through it and like,
oh, thanks.
Okay. Man. Well, that's like, there's a lot of cool stuff happening on every page.
Thanks. That's a great compliment. I thank you very much.
Well, Gary paid me money to say this. So.
yeah.
Hey man, I dug it.
I'll Venmo you.
Yeah, nice.
You know, because I'm guilty of that too. Because sometimes, if the story and the artwork is so good on a comic, you want to get through. You're like, oh my god, you know, you don't even have time to sit there and absorb how awesome the artwork is, and it does force you to go back and look at. So. Thank you. That's an incredible comment.
Yeah, because I think in all reality, I think someone may just glance at this and say, "Well, what's the big deal? It's just a bunch of puppets." And he's like, because I see 100 people taking pictures on Instagram of action figures and making little dioramas, which they all look cool.
Sure.
Degree or another. But the distinction is that people aren't making that distinction that this is something that's created versus something that is just taking somebody else's thing and snapping a photograph.
Yeah, and as I've learned the hard way, taking a cool picture of a Darth Vader toy gets a lot more engagement on Instagram than here's something that I just made in my garage and I just made this up. But here, I'll show you one thing about this. I know you guys asked about this, but like these mouths are so like here's his smile, and then these are.
You take his chin off?
Yeah, these
are.
are.
Oh my god!
I'm not going to sleep tonight, Scott.
And then here's.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, but it's, you know what? It's you really melded the forms in there. Like in the book, I'm like,
well, did you digitally manipulate parts that were looking like they were off?
No. What I do is
great job.
You can see the seam here.
Yeah.
But what I do is I'll apply that and then I'll fill it in.
Okay.
Now he looks like the Simpson.
He looks
Homer.
Like yeah. And then, even his eyes move, so he.
Wow.
I remember seeing, I remember looking and saying like, oh, the eyes are different here.
Yeah. They're like cross-eyed.
Yeah. Oh, dude, you really have thought these through.
Jesus Christ.
Scott, we gotta get
this thing famous so we can get some money and make
when can we buy our own versions of Kilgar?
Yeah, I want Kilgar. I want them.
Dude, I'm working on it. I'm working on Amigo right now. I'm working on Amigo.
Hey, you're a few years young. You're a few years young for the Migo toys, right? Like you weren't.
No, Migo. Spider-Man Migo is one of the first toys that I remember having.
Okay, all right. So that's okay. Yeah, I mean, I got that. Those things were just.
They were awesome.
They were my life. They were only superseded. I mean, I don't know. I think Migo wins in the hours, but the only thing that supersedes it is the Micronauts for me. Like those Micronauts toys, just
those were amazing.
Yeah.
Did you watch The Toys That Made Us?
Mm-hmm.
The Transformers episode. How that whole thing went full circle and Microman and Micronauts and everything. I thought that was a fascinating episode.
It was unbelievable that like. There would be no Transformers as if it wasn't for those things, and it really is. I mean, I'm a little too old for Transformers. Like I got my hands on a couple of the the whatever became Robotech, the sort of the
Gundam.
Yeah, it's not Gundam. There was a different one. Blanking.
Not Robotech. Is it Robotech?
Like the American version was called Robotech, but there was a Japanese version of the name. And I remember like it was like later in high school, like those things. I found some at a comic book convention in New York City, and it was just, whoa, what is this? This thing is this, and I could turn it into something else.
Yeah.
They were fantastic. So
yeah,
I get it.
I am working on some Kilgar toys, some actual articulated toys. I wanted to figure out how.
There you go. There's the answer. Boom.
Lacrosse. There it is.
There you go. Thanks, Sean.
Nice, Sean.
Good looking out.
We wouldn't do the show if it wasn't for Sean for multiple reasons.
It's true.
He's like our actual brain. So
yes, he is.
Yeah. Okay. So you make it's funny the Migo thing. I remember at some comic convention in the 90s, and some guy, I think maybe it was San Diego, but some guy swung by with I'm gonna guess like that sort of like large Halberton suitcase. So the aluminum case, and he walks up and he flunks his case down on a table near us where we were drawing at an artist alley, and just opens it up. And it was full of all these Migo dolls and costumes that he recreated, like recast all the parts. And
wow.
I mean, just the level of geek love that was just flowing towards him was just unbelievable.
Yeah. I have Amigo that I'm working on right now, but I don't know if I don't know. It's sort of a way underground movie. I don't know. Have you guys ever seen Windy City Heat?
If Phil was here, he would say yes.
Okay. It's like it's almost like the Truman Show.
Okay.
It's like Bobcat Goldthwait directed this movie where they are going there. It's like two fake movies.
Okay.
So it's
Like that.
it's a documentary about them making a movie called Windy City Heat.
All right.
And the movie is called Windy City Heat. So it's like super meta.
Yeah.
And what they do is they find this guy, and he says more than anything, he wants to be an actor. He wants to be a superstar. So they cast him to be in this movie called Windy City Heat. And they fuck with him through this. They create this big fake reality for this guy. And I'm making, this is the toy for that.
Oh, wow. Let's embiggen you again.
See.
Oh, really? Wow.
Ooh, look at that character.
Your sculpts are great, dude.
Thanks, man. But in the movie, they mess with Perry. This is Perry.
Yeah.
And they're gonna get toys. They're getting a toy deal for the movie, and they show everyone their toy, and then they show Perry, and he's this big fat toy. So, anyway, I'm a huge fan of that movie, and that's my first Mego. So that was sort of like my dry run, where I'm like, I'm gonna do this toy and try and figure out like the ins and outs of doing a Mego.
Right.
And then I'm gonna do the Kilgar and Leech figures after that. So
I'm not giving you the finger, Scott. I'm trying to see if I can show it. But anyway, it's impossible to see here. But
what's that?
Right here,
Overexposed.
see where my finger, like I'm running the pencil tip across,
Yeah.
is a scar. I got that scar in second grade because I used to customize my Mego toys. Like I was never satisfied with how they came out. I needed to make my own capes and costumes and parts. And my mom would switch the heads out for me. So I'm like, I want this head on this one here. And I would, have this whole thing all set up. And one day, like I saw her do it. So I knew how she did it. She would take the paring knife and she would put, because they have that sort of that barb on the head, the neck, and that would pop into the body, and that rubber barb would keep it from falling out. So she would just put it there, and then she would just slowly push it in, and it went. So me, second grader, I'm like, okay, well that's how she did it. I grabbed the paring knife and did this, slice my finger wide open, and go running into the living room while she's playing the piano, screaming, and 8 stitches later, But yeah,
toy customize, that's battle scars for us customizers. Yeah,
my hands have taken a beating for art. That's great. So there's a possibility, Gary, pay attention, that you're going to that there will be some Kilgar toys available.
Yeah, I have the mini figure.
Yeah, right.
This is like a little orange one. Actually, I
love the coins. The coins are awesome.
Thanks. Yeah. It's sort of like a take on the power of the force. Here's a painted one.
Oh wow.
Oh,
that's great.
Bring it to the right.
Your other right. There you go. Yeah.
Your other right. Yeah. Bring it over more.
Minus the coin, but I always loved those power of the force.
Yeah.
Those Star Wars. When I was a kid and they had like a coin glued to it, I was always like, wow, that's important.
Right. Yeah.
Like it added so much value.
They built a currency behind this whole.
Yeah, I was like, they've got their own currency. I was like, it must be worth something, right?
All coins are worth something.
Right. So after that, like now, I love putting coins on all of my toys and
yeah. Oh, that's great. Hey, we have Sean's saying that the Windy City toy reminds him of an Idiot Abroad. The Windy City, like, yeah, and you're right. That there is a bit of that sort of Colin. What is his name?
Yeah, it's I know.
Carl Pilkington. Carl Pilkington. You don't have to. Save me, Sean. I got that one.
Yeah, and how they goof on him. Yeah, Perry is the same way. He's sort of a moron that they just they mess with him unmerciful.
That's how I feel every week, Scott. So
I give you a little more credit than Perry, though.
oh, okay, great, thanks. So how long did it take you to actually like shoot the comic book?
You know, it wasn't too bad. You know, I feel like once it's almost like just once you get the pins set up, you just knock them down, you know. The tough part was, you know, making the figures and the sets and stuff like that. So actually shooting it didn't take, but I mean,
right. If you got everything ready to go, that's the quickest part usually.
Yeah. And that's what I thought about, you know, doing stop motion, where I was like, look, if you make the puppets, you won't ever have to animate a cell. You just play with the puppet, you know? And that's sort of what it was. So it was like, you know, once it was all done, you know, industry standard on a comic book is a page a day.
Yep.
And I remember one time when I was doing this, I was like, dude, I got 3 pages done
Whoa.
today. You know? But it also took, you know, 3 months of work to get up to that, you know?
Right.
Because at the end of actually like making everything, I was like, dude, I could have like done an oil painting on each page and it would have taken as much time. So,
Well,
I'm glad you took photos because I like them.
Yeah, thanks. I took, you know, probably like 8,000 photos, and then.
Did you have to retake any photos after you put them into the panels and were like, oh no, I need them to yada yada?
I did, yeah.
Reshoots.
Reshoots.
Yeah, I did. The thing that really kind of sucked was I did shoot on location. You know, there was one because I was like, I know that they have to go into this cave, so I built this cave. But then I was like, well, I got to go find a cave, you know. And I Googled, you know, caves.
Can we be
nearby.
best friends, Scott? Can we be best friends?
Yeah, of course, anytime, man.
Awesome.
So I go caves nearby, you know, and dude. The closest cave to me is the Batman cave.
Oh my God! No way.
The cave that's in the comic book is the cave that Adam West drives the Batmobile out of.
Is that in the credits in the comic?
No,
you need to put that in there. That's
an Easter egg. It's an Easter egg.
Important.
What a scoop!
That's important.
They also shot some Star Trek episodes there, the original series and Next Generation.
It's funny you say that, man. Like this all felt like an original series Star Trek, like
it did. Yeah,
on the planet,
the desert looking
episode. Yeah, I was like, oh my God, this is it.
And actually, the picture that you're working with there, if you move Kilgard just a little bit, he's blocking the Hollywood sign. No way. There are some pictures that I did have to Photoshop out the Hollywood sign right there. So it looks like this like desolate area, but it's actually like Hollywood.
So Scott sent me this photo. I asked him to send me some full figure photos of his characters, and he sent me this one. I was like, I'm going to use this one.
It was great. When you first clicked it up, I'm like, that's really cool. So,
that's me dangling him by a fishing wire and taking a picture with this hand. I didn't have an assistant on those shoots. And
I didn't see a shadow under him, and I thought it was hysterical. I was like, "Oh my God, he's holding him up!" And it's like he's like 3 or 4 feet off the ground. And
now, are you shooting this on your phone, or are you shooting it on a SLR?
Yeah, I shot it all on my phone.
There you go. That's what I'm shooting my stuff on.
I love that. it's so punk rock. I love it.
It works.
But it looks way better than punk rock, you know. So
Thanks, man. Yeah, I mean, everything that I do is very steeped in the punk rock DIY culture, you know.
That's a lot of us artists.
It's totally there, but it's not like, it's like there's a whole there's a
professional punk level.
Yeah, there's a few levels going on that are you know, that sort of take it away from that road. You know, it's sort of like the Police, you know, they came up under the whole punk rock scene in London, but they were way too good with their instruments.
I was gonna say, you know, you work at it for too long, you outgrow it, and you actually start getting kind of good at what you do. You know?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, and I guess now, I mean, so Kickstarter's still going, right?
No, it's over.
Right, that's Gary's got.
I got my comic.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So are you going to follow up with another one?
I'm working on it right now.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, Gary.
I would love to see a photo on the front, not a painting.
You know what I want?
I was gypped.
The next one, some of my artwork that I did for a long time was black velvet paintings.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the next one, I want it to be a black velvet painting. But on the third issue, this is what I'm working with. Do you remember the first issue of Nintendo Power? Do you know what that is? They made clay figures of Mario jumping on a mushroom.
Oh my god!
If you Google Nintendo Power issue 1,
let's do it.
It's like this wacky clay. It does not look official. It looks like an art student's project or something, but it's like there it is. Yeah, I want to do something like that where it's not exactly like the toys that I'm working with in the comic book, but it's like a big like hunk of clay. That thing, doesn't that look funny?
It's awesome. You're gonna make your characters out of clay for the front, and then the inside is the real character. It's
gonna be a totally different thing. I mean, is that too? Have I taken too much acid in my time? Or
yes, and I like it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, you know, I just had a hang up about putting the toys on the cover. I wanted it to be a little.
What's the hang up?
I don't know. I don't know what it was.
I think the toys on the cover sells it. You're like, what the fuck is that? I gotta see what this is. They open it up and it's the same thing. Oh my god, I've got to get this.
Yeah,
it's just a selling point, man. I think
you think the cover was sort of like this sacred territory of like, you know, this is where the artwork goes. You know, this is where the holographic cover goes.
No.
Yeah, you know, but it is, you know,
because
because
that's what I'm thinking. I'm like you. I mean, listen, you zeroed in. I mean, the first thing we talked about is this thing about the holographic covers and the value of these covers. So maybe you have maybe that's what it is.
You know, it might be. I just because I painted the cover too.
Yeah. No, I can see your paint. You painted Darth Vader's melted helmet.
Oh yeah, you saw that.
Yeah.
So, you know, I just don't know what it was. It's just, it never even really came across. I never even thought, it was never even a thought to put the toys on the cover.
Right.
It was always going to be like a hand painted thing. So.
Yeah. No, I don't know. It's so. I mean, I really hope that everybody.
I mean, it looks like an really bad 80s horror film. Like that's what I get.
That's what I'm going for.
There you go. You did
it. Ding, ding, ding. Mm-hmm. Now, can people get their hands on the comic book now that Kickstarter is over? So they can go to the barbarianrage.com and they can order copies of the book, like 15, 20 copies of the book.
Yeah. Yes.
We're having a retailer on next week, so we're gonna tell them that they need to get some Barbarian Rage in their store.
You can go right
you know
here
what? Yeah,
and click
have
on
them
the
contact me. Shipping is outrageous right now because of COVID and Christmas, that they temporarily hiked up the price of shipping.
Wow.
Um,
Cash grab.
yeah, it is, and it's despicable
supply and demand.
because I priced out the Kickstarter at one price.
Right.
And when I went to go ship, and I'm like, wait, whoa, what's going on here?
Right.
I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, they doubled the price of
Doubled.
shipping since I started the Kickstarter. So,
Well, Scott, that dovetails perfectly into our ad for stamps.com right now.
yeah, well, I got a couple words for stamps.com. That's what I did to ship every single one of these.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's actually, look, it beats going to the post office, that's for
Right.
sure.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
But yeah, hey, look, if someone wants to contact me and they want to carry something in their store, I mean, wait till after Christmas when the temporary price gouge goes down.
Yeah, you're not on social media as your name. You're on there as Barbarian Rage, right?
Everything's
Down
Barbarian
below.
Rage, man.
Yeah,
People don't even call me Scott. They call me Barbarian Rage.
Right. Yeah. Well, but Barbarian. I call you Bar for short.
Yeah.
Yeah. We refer to you as Barbara behind your back.
I'm sure you're not the only one.
Such a good sport. I love it.
Yeah, I know, dude. I mean, it was super fortuitous, that Gary, had reached out to you the day, we had a scheduling snafu, and I was like, oh, it was just so cool looking at what Gary forwarded to me, and I'm like,
I got it that day in the mail. Yeah, because I was on Kickstarter to buy the Jamboree with Jamie Jones and Nick Cagnetti, and then it said, hey, check out this. And I'm like, what the fuck is that? I clicked on it. I was like, what the fuck is that? I clicked more. I go, what the fuck? I kept saying, what the fuck? And then I was like, I got to buy this shit.
That's what I'm going for.
You got it. I went, what the fuck? And I had to buy it.
See, because I did want to stand out. Like sometimes sometimes I'll go to the comic book shop and I'm like, man, and this is not to disparage anything, but I'm like, a lot of it has been homogenized. It all sort of looks the same. Like even when you go back and look at the Kirby years, you look at what everyone else is doing. They're all just fighting Kirby.
Yeah,
It's like these timestamps, and I just wanted to do something that looked totally different.
Right.
And
well, it also feels truly authentic. I mean, I think you have many issues ahead of you before someone else starts trying to horn in on your territory. So I think you're safe in creating, in a realm, doing this, that you're going to stand out. You stand out just because you're the only person doing anything remotely like this.
Thanks.
Are you doing?
When I was doing it, I'm going, who else has done this? I couldn't find anyone else. There was, Twisted Toy Fair Theater.
Yeah.
The thing about this is when I'm trying to describe it to people, I go, do you know what Twisted Toy Fair Theater is? And they go, no. I go, well, I don't know. And then someone will go, hey, I read your book. Dude, it's like Twisted Toy Fair Theater. And I go, well, yeah, no shit.
Right.
But even then, it's like that was already an existing intellectual property. Those characters already existed. And I don't really know of anyone that has done a fully original toy comic like this.
Well, here's the closest thing that I remember, and it has nothing to do with toys, but Marvel. Can you see the thing on the right here that says down the elevator?
Yes.
The Marvel Fumati book.
Yes. Yeah.
Like here's the Hulk, some guy in Hulk costume and running through the offices.
The Spider-Man costume in there too, and yeah.
That book, that's like, so when you first had mentioned this, I was like, oh, that kind of reminds me of the Marvel Fumati book.
National Lampoon used to do it too.
Right.
They would take pictures of them, and Gilbert Gottfried would be sitting on the couch with naked women, and He always said he's like I always wrote the comics about naked women because I would get to sit with naked women.
Right.
Yeah, you did a great impersonation there.
I love Gilbert.
He's the best.
But yeah.
So what's the timeline for issue 2 then?
I want it to be done by February. I wanted it to be all shot on location because I love like that Batman cave. I was like, dude, I'm like on hallowed ground. It's like Batman and Star Trek and now Barbarian Rage. But when I was up there, it was like it was COVID and it was summer and I couldn't breathe in this mask.
Oh yeah.
And I get up there and the clay, because like their eyebrows are clay, oil-based clay.
Oh, they're gonna melt.
Stuff started melting,
right.
and I'm like losing stuff up there in the dirt, and you know, I'm like all sunburned, and you know, you got to go shit in a porta potty, and it's like a mile down the hill, and I'm like, so you're
gonna start building some sets, bro.
That's what I'm doing. I'm making a set right here.
Great.
Because like having to sit and fight traffic to go out there, like at first I'm like, I can't believe I'm at the Batman cave, and then by like week 2, I'm like, I gotta go out to that fucking cave.
Man. Awesome. Have you thought about cropping all of the panels on each page and putting it on Webtoons so it's all vertical?
Yeah, you know, right now I'm a one-man show. It's are you talking about like Comixology or
Webtoons? If you go to webtoons.com and you download the app, everything is vertical. You read one panel and then the next panel, and then you just keep on scrolling down. Mm-hmm. And dude, I think if you put your comic on there, that'd be, there's nothing like anything like that on there.
You know,
it's ready opposed for you.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to put, you know, that's why I said I will give this comic book away for free. That if you go to my website, barbarianrage.com.
Sucker Gary, you bought the comic book and he's going to give it away for free.
I don't care. I want to support him. He's awesome.
But you know, look, to me, comic books is a tactile thing.
Yes.
You know, it's the difference between reading it online and having a copy. You know, to me, it's two separate things.
Sure.
But your audience is in agreement there. I think like the people who are going to gravitate towards this are people like you. I mean, they're going to be like, I need this thing.
Yeah.
He's going to miss half his audience though if he doesn't get online. Get like a Webtoons, man. Get the young kids or something that are like they never go to the comic store, or it's the virus and they can't get out. And dude, have you seen this shit? Oh my god, this Instagram him. Oh my god, he's taking pictures of the next comic. It's just.
I think I did look into Webtoons. Isn't Webtoons like only PG or like?
I don't know. You could probably put a rating on it for language and stuff.
There was one thing where I was like, I should be looking into all of this because I know Comixology, you can put a rating on it and everything. It's just that I did all of this on an iPhone and then put it together on an obsolete computer that I was like, when this is done, I'm buying a new computer, I'm buying a new phone, I'm upgrading all this crap.
Yeah.
So I still have to play catch up. I'm still shipping for the Kickstarter, you know.
No, that's right. I think that's what your Instagram post said yesterday or today. You know, you're just doing what you can to get it out.
It's a slog, you know. Like make it like name one other person that writes his own comic book, does the artwork, prints it, publishes it, and creates his own toy line and makes the toys.
Yeah, you're in rarefied air in that respect. Yeah.
So
we know a couple of people like that, but they don't do the toys.
Yeah.
The toys is the thing where it was a weird thing with the Kickstarter where I go, look, I'm going to make the comic book so people will be interested in the toy, like to see if people will be interested in it to buy the toys.
Right.
And then people are like, you made a comic
Perfect.
book, well, where's the toys? And I'm like, well, you got to get the comic book, so I'll make the toys. And they're like, no, we want the toys, then the comic book. And I'm like, this goes against. And so the comic book sat there, and then on the Kickstarter, I go, okay, here I made the toy. Like in the middle of the Kickstarter, I sculpted and cast that toy. And I go, here, I made the toy. And then everyone was like, oh, okay, well, now we're on board.
You're in. Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, the toy market is very defined. You know, the toy collectors are toy collectors.
yes.
You know, it's you know, and you have an interesting challenge on a brand end with with a hybrid product. So it's
yeah. You know, I just always assumed that, you know, you just assume everyone's like you.
Sure.
Toys, comics, it goes, you know, the cross section of collectors there is.
Yeah, the Venn diagram.
It's everyone.
Yeah, the Venn diagram is pretty round in that respect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Top 3 toys, Scott. What are the top 3 toys for you? You know, what are they?
My favorite toys?
Yeah, not Gary's. We don't care about that.
Oh my God. I don't know. I always say my toy collection is just a bunch of garbage. You know, it's like fodder that I can't have anything nice that I guess what my favorite toy, War Duke from the Dungeons and Dragons line.
Okay.
Is definitely up there. Castle Grayskull. I mean, it's a play set, but
I mean, it all counts. You got 2. You would have loved the Planet of the Apes mountain.
Yeah, I love all. I have some
fun.
Planet of the Apes models and stuff.
Yeah.
What I mean, what else do I even have laying around?
You can finish it out with your Mego Spider-Man.
The Mego Spider-Man, that, you know, that was, you know, I'll go ahead with that one.
Yeah.
Because I remember loving that toy so much. And then I remember I wanted to take it into the bath with me one time. So I had to peel off the Spider-Man clothes.
Yeah, the suit. Yeah.
And I remember how weird it was that he had a flesh body and red hands. Yeah.
Yeah. That's funny.
It wasn't the cool web slinging Spider Mego, but yeah, it was just the regular one.
The straight up one, yeah.
Maybe like a Beast Man. That was one of my first He-Man toys.
That's the guy with the 2 faces.
No, Beast Man was the orange guy.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's different because, you know, like now I loved like more weird, obscure toys, bootleg toys, and
yeah,
you know, like now I don't really even buy anything unless like one of my artist friends made it with their own 2 hands. You know, one of my favorites here, I'll show you this one. This is one of my favorites from the last couple of years. This is a Mexican bootleg He-Man. That's like
you get a suntan.
It's like a blow mold.
Wow.
They didn't even bother painting the back. It's just
nice.
like spray painted. Like, look at the teeth.
Awesome.
Like the back of his head's not even painted. It was just like,
oh, that's great.
And like he doesn't even stand. Like,
he's drunk.
Yeah, it's drunk He-Man. And like the flashing is all gnarly.
Oh yeah.
It's like
he's like half sprue.
It's like yeah, it's like hangover He-Man, you know.
Professional sculpting talk. Flashing.
Wow.
But yeah, this is one of my favorites from the last couple of years.
Love it. I love it.
Oh, garage door.
Dog is driving me crazy.
Oh, okay. I thought you were tossing him in the chipper.
No, the noise was
Like, enough of this He-Man.
My wife is always like, when are you gonna put the dog in your comic book?
maybe Leech can enlarge a dog and they can ride the dog.
I think he might end up being in there somewhere.
Yeah,
But
sure.
I don't know.
But maybe they live in a world where there are no dogs, and and the only dogs are these gigantic things that are a terror to them.
You know, there's so many different things that I want to do with this.
That's good.
It's like, I want to say it's going to be like 7 to 10 issues is going to be like the first like story arc.
Yeah.
So
Sweet.
It will have a beginning, a middle, and an end, but then it will end up. I do want to go beyond that. Here, hang on one second. But it all depends. It all depends.
Well, I think you. I mean,
Keep pushing.
I think you can maintain a lot of attention just with these two characters for a while. Like, I don't think you need to keep gilding the lily with more and more characters for a while, because
they're
interesting.
There is that I'm afraid of, but I feel like if I can get like a core team and just sort of stick to those core team, and not have it be like Game of Thrones where I'm like, man, who is that guy again?
Oh yeah.
And I love Game of Thrones and everything, but I also want this to sort of be like a sitcom where it's like, originally it was, I wanted it to sort of be like Saved by the Bell, where it's like 3 guys, 3 girls, and they like live in this castle,
right?
But that ended up, because that's where the 6 original characters came from, and then I was like, I'm not making 6 of these, man.
Yeah.
So,
no, it's
yet.
Gary's like yet. Yeah, it's cool, man. I think you've got a really fun idea here, and it's and the comic book is great. So
thank you.
Yeah, I think for all the people who've already in the Kickstarter, I'm sure they're in for issue 2. And,
oh yeah, totally.
And hopefully retailers will find you out and start ordering issues, because I think this is the kind of thing that you're going to get. Game shop.
I'm gonna bring mine over to Banff and show them.
Yeah, totally.
The issue and see if they'll get some.
I think Dave would be into that.
Oh yeah, totally.
I know Enzo would be into it.
Enzo, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's cool stuff, Scott. I mean, I'm really,
thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I really fortuitous that Gary just happened to click on it and look at this. So, anything else happening? Anything else you want to just plug there?
I live and breathe this project.
Yeah,
I believe it.
I mean, like, this is it. Like, the script for the second one is just about done. I usually shoot it over to my identical twin brother, and he'll look at it and he'll go, "Dude, this sucks.
Nice.
This is not funny." And he'll help me punch up the jokes and stuff. And
well, that's good.
I'm very fortunate to have someone that won't be like, "Oh, this is great," and then it's like, dude,
that's the worst.
Because originally I was very self-conscious about this, not doing artwork and putting the toys in there. I'm like, look, this has to be like fantastic,
right?
And not to say like, and I pulled it off, but to say like, this really has to be like the best thing I've ever done in order for me to put it out. And I with zero ego, I would be able to say that it is. It's just that it took, to me, I said it was like entering the 36th chamber. It's like everything that I've ever learned through my entire life has sort of come to this point, and then it's like, okay, everything that I've ever learned how to do, you need to do right now for this project.
You're doing it. That's great.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just in our talk, hearing where all this kind of came from. I mean, that's exactly what this is. You've definitely pulled all these parts together and made the thing. And, it's, I mean, it's, I think the canny element is that you are choosing to use the items that are your sort of your creative passion, which is making the toys, rather than saying, I'm going to draw a comic book about the toy, the character toys. Like you've brought them together. And I think that's really kind of a really canny move.
Yeah. Thanks. I feel like I could have done the artwork. It's just that, I don't know. I just felt like this would be the way to do it, because in my head, I would be like, this is how I would have drawn this. Mm-hmm. But as I was taking pictures, you take a picture over here, this way, this way, this way, this way. And then I'm like, dude, that works out way better. And I'm like, I originally envisioned it this way, but if you turn the camera all the way around and light it differently, that's the shot, So
you're learning.
It does allow you to have a lot more freedom. And especially like some of the jokes in there too, where I'm like, dude, if I didn't have the freedom to just go click, click, click and put the joke in there, I would feel like every joke has to be so precious.
Right.
Because it's like, I'm going to spend the next 20 hours drawing this and coloring it and everything.
True.
Whereas, there's a part in there where it says, I got my dick stuck in the toaster. I was like, does that work? And I'm like, yeah, it does. But
it works. It certainly works.
You wanted to warm it up. I get it.
Yeah. That was one of those where I was like, that would have never crossed my mind to do that in the script if I had to draw it.
Right.
I wouldn't have had the confidence to draw, him with his dick in the toaster.
Right.
Yeah, it does afford some license to mess around with that, because I feel like if I was confined to drawing it, it takes me so long. I'm the world's slowest artist anyway, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, it's great. I'm super happy that all, this all happened. We got to actually, Gary found it, and then we got to get you on, because
I found it.
Yes, yeah. It's fantastic, and I really, really enjoyed it, and I hope more people.
You're part of the DrawDrinkn crowd now.
Yeah, there you are.
Yeah, thanks.
Ooh, yeah.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Oh man,
man.
It's been our pleasure.
Totally.
Keep us apprised. I mean, we're watching you on Instagram and Twitter.
All right, cool.
So
yeah.
But keep us apprised about issue 2, and we'll bring you back on so you can talk about that and get some more people kind of on board.
Thanks.
Yeah, man. I guess I got to do the outro.
All right.
I don't even know how to do this. Hold on a second.
Well, thanks for having me on, guys. I really appreciate it.
Man.
It's a lot of fun.
It's been a blast to have you, and I'm totally enamored with the characters in the comics. So
thanks.
Yeah. It's
I concur.
Yeah, like if you see this 6 years from now and you're cruising this artifact called YouTube, and you find this comic book and check out Barbarian Rage.
Thank you.
There you go. Gary likes to do that kind of stuff. All right. Well, thank you for everybody for watching, and like, click, subscribe, all those kinds of whatever we're supposed to say on the internet. And thanks again to Scott Cherry for being here.
Thanks, Scott.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Next week, we will have Rogue City Comic Books as our guest. So until next week. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
All right. We'll see you around.